So everybody, welcome to Parrots, People, and Pets. We're very pleased to have a very special guest with us this week. Her name is Lynn Puckett, and she's out of Arizona. And recently she experienced something that a lot of people only dream of experiencing during their entire lifetime, especially if they're a bird person. She actually got to visit Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, a place where military macaws fly free in the wild. And this is in part due to the wonderful people at macawforever.org. They are an organization that is formed specifically to prevent the extinction of military macaws. They work to stop the illegal trade of these birds, and they also help protect their natural habitat. They teach at schools and other places about the need to conserve this species because military macaws are very much endangered. Unidos por las Guacamayas in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico even set up environmental education groups to help people understand the importance of conservation, the threats involved to this species, and why it's important both to us as the human species and to them as a species of parrot to keep their habitat alive. So Amber got to fly down to this area, and she has a military macaw of her own at home, and she got to see the wild military macaws in their natural habitat. So Amber, what made you decide to take this trip in the first place?
Mostly because I have a military macaw and I wanted to see how they live in the wild. I first heard about the Macaws Forever group in January 2012 from my friend Mary Rose. She had met them at a Canadian parrot conference. And once I learned that there was an opportunity to visit the macaws in the wild, I started talking to the biologist on the project in June of 2012 and planning my trip. I also started getting involved with their group and helping them to do fundraising for their project, and I got to become friends with them before the trip even started.
Right. We both own military macaws. What is the name of your group on Facebook in case people who are listening have military macaws that might be interested in joining?
The best way to find their Facebook group would be to go to macawforever.org, and there's a link there. The name of their Facebook group is in Spanish, and so it would be really hard to find it by trying to spell it.
Right.
Honestly, if you searched for it on Facebook.
And our group, or the group that you started, is called Military Macaw Owners Group, I believe, if anyone wants to look that up and join a group of people on Facebook that also own military macaws. So,
Yes, and we have over 100, oh, sorry. We have over 100 owners in our group now, and it's a very supportive group of owners. We don't have breeders, we have mostly rescue people in there, and so we do support each other when we need help trying to figure out behavioral issues or nutritional issues or anything like that with our birds.
Yeah, it's a really supportive group. There's no bashing, no insulting of any kind. So it's a great group to be a part of, and I'm glad that you made it. It's made a difference in the relationship between Bugla and I, Brandy and I, and a lot of other people. So Amber, was this trip down to Mexico more than you expected it to be?
It was more than I expected it to be, excuse me, in both good and bad ways, I suppose. Excuse me, I have come down with something since my trip.
It's okay.
It was one of the most beautiful places that I've ever been to. Sorry, excuse me. It was the most amazing experience to see the wild macaws flying at their nest sites. One morning I had breakfast with macaws at their nest, and in that same evening I was swimming in the ocean and the macaws flew over us. I mean, that was completely the best day ever.
Wow.
Seeing flocks of seeing flocks of Amazons and hundreds of half-moon conures was also an amazing experience. The part that I was not prepared for was the difficulty of the hikes up the mountains in the heat combined with 90% or more humidity
Oh,
and
wow.
the overwhelming amount of spiders that we saw,
Oh, yeah.
which after a few days, they just became normal. I had previously had a small phobia of bees, and one morning in the hike up the mountain in the dark, I realized I had at least 12 bees on me, and I was just too tired to care. So I overcame a lot of my phobias on this trip. So
Did you make all of the hikes, or were there some trails that were too difficult?
I made every single hike. That's why, I don't know if you saw on Facebook, I had the special certification for conquering the mountain and the spiders.
I
That's
did
why I
see
had
that.
the extra certification.
Yeah, that would
So
be.
I am the first one to do, we were the first group to do this eco tour with the biologist, and I'm the first one that's done every single one of the hikes. So
Oh, really? Were there other? I know you went with a friend, but besides you and your friend, were there other people on the tour?
there was one other person that joined us for one day.
Okay.
So
So you actually got to see the wild military macaw's nests.
yeah, that was the hardest hike. That one, the biologist rated an 8 to a 9, which one of the other previous hikes that I thought I was going to be ill on, he rated a 5 to 6. And when he told me the next day was an 8 to 9, I was not looking forward to the 8 to 9 hike. But then he told me we were going to the nest. So I said, well, I will be going. My friend decided she did not want to go, so she stayed at the camp where we had our tents, and we climbed up a mountain. Half of it was mud, and I had to use my hands to climb up the mountain in the dark. And the bugs would, I mean, some of them were the size of hummingbirds. They would fly at your face in the dark, and you just had to keep going. And the biologists were extremely supportive, and they would just, encourage you the entire way. You can do it. If you need to take a break, we'll take a break. It's only 30 more minutes or 15 more minutes or whatever it was. And then you had that motivation because you knew once you got to the top, the macaws were going to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it was totally worth it. I mean, I wanted to pay someone to carry me down, but
Yeah.
that wasn't an option. So
And I know that the military macaws, they have a problem down there with poachers actually taking the babies from the nest, right?
the biologists have made several signs that they post in the jungle areas where the macaws are prevalent that say in Spanish, it is illegal to take the birds. If you take the birds, you will be arrested. Just kind of making the people more aware of what will happen if they take the birds. They also pay some local people who live there near the nesting sites, they pay them money to monitor the nests.
Oh.
So a lot of the money that we send to them for conservation actually goes to local people to protect the nest sites.
Oh, that's great. So I'm going to assume that that's dramatically raised your awareness of the great need that we have to conserve these military macaws.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was one place that we went to where one of the local people told us that the macaws in that area used to be in the trees like chickens. There were so many of them. And when we were there that day, there was none. And they hadn't seen any for years. So that whole area had been completely depleted of the macaws, and they don't come back there because, the macaws know that people are a danger to
Right.
them there. So we never did see any parrots of any type for sale in any of the marketplaces, which I was really happy about. We did see a few conures in cages in people's private residences or at restaurants, which I didn't like, and the biologist told me that was illegal. Another thing, though, that I was unaware of, the double yellowhead Amazon parrots are almost completely extinct there. They've only seen one parrot there the entire time they've been there.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't realize that they were in such danger.
And so in addition to poaching, do these guys also suffer because I don't know if there's a problem of deforestation going on down there?
Not in any area that I saw, there wasn't.
Oh, okay. So tell us a little bit more about your daily routine. I know that there were hikes involved, but there were also wild military macaws that would actually come down to the ranch and kind of visit near you guys.
It all kind of depended on the day. If it was a day where we were going out to see the wild macaws, then we would wake up between 4:30 or 5:30, which for my Arizona time was 2:30 or 3:30 in the morning.
Right.
So that took some getting used to. We would have a granola bar, and then we would either drive or hike to the site and leave from there. So either drive to the mountain or leave from our camp where we were. And then we would hike straight up to the top of the mountain in the complete darkness, wearing the lamp on our heads. And that was the only thing that we had for light, because it would be just in the dark. Some of the hikes were extremely difficult, especially while you're carrying the backpack. And the heat and humidity would get to you. I'm from Arizona, so we don't have humidity.
Right.
So being in the 90% humidity, a total change. So you just had to keep telling yourself that there was macaws at the end of the tunnel, and you could get there.
Yeah.
Once you finally got to the top of the mountain and the sun started coming up, you would start hearing the familiar noises of the macaws that you recognize, from your own home.
Yeah.
And they were so loud. I just couldn't get over how loud they were. And then you would just have to locate in which direction they were coming from. And then finally you would see them start flying, and you would see one pair come, and then another pair come, and then 5 would come. And, one day we counted, I think, 30 of them. And then the next day we counted 50 of them. And so, we would stay at that area until they slowed down, and then we would leave. At the one ranch that we stayed at, some macaws would fly over, very few, but they did have a macaw there named Segundo that had been a bird that was trafficked, and she had an injury during the time that she was trafficked illegally. So they had brought her to the ranch owner so that she could be taken care of and then released. She has a 20 by 12 foot aviary there, and she released her and another macaw together so that they could go back into the wild. And Segundo decided that she didn't want to leave, so now she lives never in a cage and never in the house. She free flies at the ranch, and she comes and goes as she pleases with a lilac-crowned Amazon named Jasmine, and she has a fabulous life. Yes.
That's pretty amazing.
And people who have parrots would completely have a panic attack if they saw the things that she did. She sat in the trees next to the vultures and played in spider webs and ate dirt and rolled in mud and did things that, we would be like, oh my God, my parrot can't do that. And, here she was. You saw her photo. She's absolutely stunning.
Yes, she is.
Because she's out in the rain and eating the foods that she's supposed to be eating and, getting dirty all day. So
you saw some pretty weird things that they actually eat in the wild that we've never even seen or heard of here. Can you kind of describe some of the things that you saw them eating in the wild?
Sure, there was the one fruit, and of course now I can't remember the name of it, but it looks kind of like a miniature pumpkin, And during the wet season, it is a fruit with seeds, and during the dry season, it is like more like a seed pod. And so when it breaks apart kind of like in a C shape, and then the macaws will eat that. That's very toxic to most other animals and humans, but the macaws can eat that. They eat nuts from the palms. They eat a lot of papayas, mangoes, passion fruits, bananas. I mean, all those things just grow. They're plentiful, so they eat that. Trying to think what else.
Isn't it?
There's a lot of palm dates that.
Sorry, I saw a picture you posted of this giant avocado. It was probably like 5 times the size of a regular avocado, and don't they eat those too?
Yep, neat. The parrots there will eat the avocados, and they are not affected by them. Yep.
I guess they're probably immune to it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, the birds in California eat them too, and they don't have any problems with them. I'm not suggesting that anyone
Right.
eats avocado to their parrot, but I'm just saying that in the wild they do eat them.
Yeah. So other than, the natural things they do being wild birds, what kind of differences did you notice between your military macaw Chula and the wild military macaws? I mean, in the way that they acted, their appearance, what other kind of differences did you notice?
Well, in appearance, my military macaw, her face is always very, very white. Like, she doesn't blush a lot. Their faces were almost always pink. They were also probably a little bigger than my macaw is. They were always very, very loud because they were communicating with each other. Their noises, though, they make the same noises. I mean, even though my macaw's never been in a flock of other military macaws, she still makes a lot of like what I call like the happy sounds, like when she's really happy or playing. Like, I heard the wild birds making those same exact noises. So that was really cool. I saw some military macaws hanging upside down from trees playing, and they were grabbing each other's tails and being goofy with each other, and and just kind of like you see the macaws here interact with each other. But I mean, other than that, like, the only day that we got close enough to really see them was when we went to the nest site. The other days we were on a different mountain than they were, and we only observed them flying towards us or over us. So
Yeah. So this organization, it's run by a couple, correct?
yes, it's one biologist and one veterinarian.
And people can read about all the different kinds of things that they do at macawforever.org. How can people donate to this cause?
Yes, if you go to their website, macaawforever.org, there's a PayPal link on their website. You can also get the link to their Facebook page, and then that way you can follow along with their status updates when they go out into the field and take photos. They have some amazing photos. They just left today to come to the United States. They're going to do a talk in Ohio at the Ohio Zoo. So they may not have some pictures up this month. So they go to Ohio, they're going to go to Canada. So they're going to be traveling for a little bit. But I know that we took a lot of photos when we were out in the field. So they will be having some really nice photos coming up soon, I'm sure.
Yeah. So when you finally got home, you were gone for 10 days. How did your own military macaw Chula react when you finally got home?
Well, she was pretty happy to see me. She's still over at her aunt's house right now because her aunt goes out of town tomorrow to Hawaii, so I have to go stay at her house. So she's over there getting spoiled by her favorite aunt. So she still had her regular schedule and got her cuddles at her normal time. So she was happy to see me, and then she got over it. She was like, "Okay, yeah, you're home. I'm okay."
So this is probably going to be.
She loved.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay. This is probably going to be a really stupid question, but would you recommend the vacation that you just had to all bird lovers?
I definitely believe that all bird lovers should have the experience of seeing their favorite species of bird in the wild. It gives you a new appreciation of the parrots and understanding of how they live in the wild and what their requirements are. I learned so much about the trees that the macaws live in and the diet that they eat in the wild, and we are not able to provide that for them in captivity.
Right.
I also got to see their natural behaviors and recognize some of them in my own bird at home. Many of the sounds that they make were the same. They're so loud and they're communicating with one another, and you realize that when your own macaw is being loud at times, it's only natural for them to behave that way. Going on vacations like this also helps support the conservation groups, and it gives the local people in the area where the macaws are a source of income other than trafficking the birds, because they make money from you going there when you buy things from them. Our guides always had us buy things from the small villages that we went through, even if it was just a piece of fruit or a snack or a bottle of water. This way, the people realize that the tourists are coming to their community to see the wild parrots and that they need to help protect them and keep them there.
Oh, that's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us?
Sorry,
go ahead.
Oh, I definitely recommend going. I'm going back there as soon as I can. And in February, we're going to Peru, to Tampa Plata, to see the other macaws. So
yeah, you're gonna go see them at the Salt Licks, correct?
Yeah, the Clay Lick. Yep.
Yeah, Clay Licks. Yeah, we're definitely gonna want to interview you after that trip, because that's gonna be interesting as well. That's not an experience that many people get to have.
Yeah, you'll have to have Noelle Fontana with me too, because this will be her 15th trip, I think. So.
Oh, I didn't even realize she had gone. But yeah, definitely. We'll have you.
Yes.
We'll try and have you both on to talk about it. But before you go, do you have any other kind of special, amazing sights that you got to see that you'd like to tell our listeners about?
Well, let's see. Probably the most amazing thing that I got to see was the macaws at the nest site. I mean, that's not something that people will get to see. I mean, if you're lucky, you will get to see macaws if you go there. There are some, quote unquote eco tours that you can hire that will take you there. They don't know where the nests are though. Only the biologists know, because they're there to study them and they learn. Even when we were on the boat going from one location to another, we would see macaws flying, but only the biologists can take you to see a nest. So, I mean, that was a very, very special thing for me. It's not nesting season right now for them. They were coming in to inspect the nest and make sure that it's ready for them. So they were going in and out of the nesting cavities, taking out debris and making the holes a little bit bigger and doing that. So I got some of that on video, and even the biologist was like, "Oh, I've never seen them do that before," or "I've never seen them do that before." So I felt that was really special, that, even he hadn't seen them do certain things, and I got to be there to see them do that. We also got to see 32 lilac-crowned Amazons, which was really awesome, because we weren't in an area where the Amazons normally are. Hundreds and hundreds of half-moon conures that were there. They nest in the termite mounds, and so anytime you see a termite mound, there would be half-moon conures, and so that was really, really cool. We had iguanas that lived in our rooms sometimes, boa constrictors we saw tarantulas. I mean, we saw a lot of things. Definitely, if you are afraid of bugs, this is not a trip for you. But if you can handle it, you get over it really fast. So,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'd be willing to overcome my fear of bugs to see the wild military macaws. You have some really beautiful pictures and videos that I would love to share on the Parrots, People, and Pets site so people can kind of get an idea of what you're talking about.
yeah, yeah.
All right, well, Amber, we want to thank you so much for joining us. You've given us so many beautiful visuals of your vacation and what it entailed, and I am super jealous, and everybody in the military macaw community is as well. So we can't wait to hear from you when you return from Peru, visiting the clay licks, and thank you so much for being on the radio show.
Sure, thanks for having me.